What's up, family? I'm the guy that showcase and promote African-American businesses operating here in the greater Phoenix area. Please help me further support these amazing entrepreneurs by not only supporting my YouTube channel or following me on Facebook, but also stop by their businesses and give them a little economic support. My name is Shaka and this is African-American-Made. Hey, how you doing today?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I am doing great, man. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to showcase your awesome business. Won't you tell me your name and the name of your business?
Name is Michael Ballard, Sr. Business is called Ballard Interiors.
Ballard Interiors. And there's another part to that. You have a moniker. What do you call yourself?
Mike, Mr. Home Improvement.
There you go, Mr. Home Improvement.
That's it right here. Mike, Mr. Home Improvement.
Mr. Home Improvement, yeah. So I saw a lot of your work, man. You do some awesome stuff out here in the Valley.
Thank you, thank you.
What inspired you to go into the remodeling, construction and contracting space?
Well, one of my mentors was telling me one day, he was like, hey, you want to provide for your family? Get into flooring. And that's all he told me. He said, you want to provide for your family and get into flooring. So the reason why that was so important, because this is my 15th business. I took that information, I looked it up, I found the company that did flooring in Empire Today, one of the biggest flooring companies in the country. I went and worked for them for about 4 to 6 months, learned the business, and then 4 months later after that, started my own business.
So you went and did what a lot of us decide not to do. You went and worked for a company in the industry and soaked up the game, if you will.
That's it right there.
That's awesome. So 4 months, I mean, because you had to have had some knowledge of some of this stuff going into it. Really?
Not a thing.
Wow. Because contractors tell you, man, I've been doing this for 15 years. It took me 20 years just to get to this level, just to get to level 2,
Not a thing. So I was a sales guy. So all I needed to know how to do is sell the product. Once I learned the product to sell, then I could sell it. And then I was able to hire people to do the work. And it was really on-the-job training. As I went through different jobs, I learned more and more about the business. But the key component for me was, can I sell the product? And as long as I was able to sell the product, I didn't really have to learn. I didn't really have to know everything else. The little things like, oh, you have to cut around the door jambs. This is why you do that. You have to level the floor. This is why you do that. You use things, those things I learned as I went on, so okay. Mistakes were made, but we fixed them.
Okay. You sound like me from my first video I did. I always apologize to that guy and say,
For sure.
So you're from the sales end, which is a very important part, right? You have to convince someone that this is what they need.
Exactly.
And show them where the need is, and then sell them on what you can do.
Right.
Let's talk about the team then, because you're not doing the work yourself. You're just getting 4 months into this game.
Right.
How do you put together the people you need in order to do the work after you've, sealed the deal?
Gotcha. So once I learned the business, and I left Empire Today, and I started working on getting my license and my insurance and all that stuff, I end up calling. Actually, what I did was I kind of went door to door. I looked up online and seen companies that sold flooring, because I started off as a flooring company. So I looked up companies that sold flooring, and I went to those places, walked in, asked to talk to the owner, and said, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm starting a flooring company, and I'm looking for somebody to supply me with the material. And I just did that to a couple people, and I end up finding a lady out in Phoenix. So at this time, I'm staying I'm in Mesa, but I found the lady out in Phoenix. She owned a flooring company. And I told her what I wanted to do. I told her I was getting my license, and she said, well, this is what I do. I'll give you contractor pricing, which is different from the public pricing. And I said, well, I need installers too. You have installers? She said, oh yeah, I can do the install for you too. So my first deal, I got my material from her and I used her installers. And I just kind of built it from there. So as I started going to places, meeting people, I started meeting subs, people that did the work. And I said, hey man, you do work? Let me get your number. You know, let me get your number here, let me get your number here. And I built my team from there. So it started with, you know, I tell people it's the behind the scenes stuff that you don't see. People always see the success, the after the picture is done, but they don't see what it takes to make that picture. Absolutely. So, you know, when I tell people, yeah, I was pretty much going door to door, you know, for businesses saying, hey, can you help me? Can you supply me with the material? You know, those things right there. And then I used her for the first one. And then I end up getting from that job, I end up finding a guy who actually did her demo, but he actually laid laminate. And I said, you lay laminate, but you're doing demo? He said, yeah. So I got his number. So he became my installer.
Okay, so let's talk, explain to us what a demo is.
Demo is when we go into your house and we tear up the old flooring to replace it with new flooring. So your tile, your carpet, your baseboards, we're demoing.
Oh, demolition.
Demolition, I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Demo
You're fine.
Demolition,
No,
I'm sorry. Demolition, and then we come in and lay down your new floors.
Okay. So as you started getting work, you started meeting people in the industry that you used to actually do the work.
To do the work.
But we got to go back a little bit because still, you said this is what I'm going to do. Out of all these things I did in the past, business-wise, and we're definitely going to talk about that. I'm not a carpenter, a contractor, if you will. You know, I don't go in and do all this work, but I have this idea to still sell still sell a business that I haven't done before.
Right.
And I'm gonna put together a team, and you meet good people along the way, and then your business springs off from that.
Right.
I mean, what is it about you or what was going on with you at the time that made you think you could do that?
That's just me. Some people just have that, you know. So my mentor, he's told a dozen people the same thing he told me, and I was the only one that ran with it. Mm-hmm. And that's all he did. He told me. He didn't give me no money to do it or anything. He just said, hey, if you want to provide for your family. At this time, I was working at a call center, I believe. What was I doing? I didn't have my own business at this time, but he said, hey, you want to provide for your family? This is what you do. And I just took that and said, well, let's do it.
Okay.
And so it's, but again, that's me. This is my 15th business. So I've always had the mentality that I wanted to be my own boss and I was going to have my own empire, but I just didn't know, what it looked like, how I was going to do it, but I was determined that I was going to do it. And once I got that information, knowledge is really the key. A lot of times people don't know because they don't know. But once I got the information, he said, you can make money doing this. I was like, oh, it's not. Let me look into it.
Okay.
Oh, it's not.
So tied into that is just being fearless and stepping out of your
comfort zone. Just stepping out and I'm just gonna do it.
Okay.
You know.
Well, this is a good segue into what I wanted to talk about. What I want to go into is your other businesses.
Okay.
You've done other things.
Yes.
Mention some of those things that you've done in the past, and why some of them did or didn't work. But I'm sure you'll tell us that those things were building blocks for your current success, right?
Right, for sure.
So talk about that.
So current business I used to have, one that comes in my head right now is I used to have a car dealership. Little small spot, could hold about 10 cars. We just did cash deals. That business was cool, but what happened is when the economy fell in 2007-8 for the housing market, people wasn't buying cars anymore like that. And social media or anything like that I use now to advertise on wasn't big back then, so I didn't have anywhere to market my product. So what ended up happening is that whole concept was crazy. Initially, I had an investor, and he ended up pulling out, so I ended up doing it myself. So I met a guy, the guy that used to be our church mechanic. He had a car dealership license. So I would initially get a car from him, a car or two from him, and then put it on my lot, and then I'll sell it, and then I'll give him his money. One of the times and I'm gonna talk about, this goes into relationships, we'll talk about that also. One of the times I was at the auction, the dealer's auction, I met the guy, I ran into a guy who I bought my first van for when I was doing digital cable installation. I used to do digital cable installation for a independent contractor that worked for Cox. And I needed a van. I put a rack on top for my ladder. So the guy that sold me the car with the van, and I paid monthly to, I ended up paying that van off. I seen him at the dealer's auction. I said, hey man, how you doing? His name was Robbie. He said, man, how you doing? He said, what you up to? So he seen me at the auction. I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I got a small dealership. I hold about 10 cars. You know, at that time I was buying the cars from the other guy and then taking them back to my shop. When I talked with Robbie, he said, man, just give me a call, man. We might be able to work something out. So what ended up happening is he ended up funding all my cars and putting them on my lot, and we just split the profits 50-50.
Okay, now what kind of capital do you need to start even a small lot like that?
So what I ended up having to do, I was kind of under the radar. At that time, to get a dealer's license, it was something ridiculous. It was a couple $100,000, something ridiculous that they wanted for a dealer's license. But I didn't really need a full dealer's license. I just needed to sell cars. So I just kind of flew under the radar, I'll be honest with you. But because he supplied me with the cars, when I sold him, I was able to sell them under his license.
Okay.
And then we had split the profits.
Okay.
And then what ended up happening is when the economy went down, I ended up closing my dealership. And he already had a dealership. He had a buy here, pay here dealership. He had a couple of them. I ended up going to work from him as his sales manager.
Okay.
So I was able to transition into that to keep the money flowing in.
Okay, so you're in the used car game. There was a downturn in the economy in 2008. Right. We all went through that.
Right.
And so you ended up closing up shop on that.
Right.
Transitioned into a salesperson
right.
for one of your mentors or one
right.
of your colleagues.
Yep, one of my mentors. He became a mentor too.
Okay, now you go into something else.
Yes. So after that, well, before that, I did. I had a clothing line called Fog Wear, stood for Followers of God Wear. I had a record label. I did graphic design, did websites.
Okay.
After the car dealership, I ended up getting into club promotions. So me and my brother, it was called Doobie Boys. We was big time club promoters out here. I mean, we had billboards and everything.
Wow.
So we did club promotions out here for a while, but then I ended up leaving that business and going back to church. And I just felt like I couldn't be a club promoter and minister in church at the same time. So I ended up giving my 50% of the business to my brother.
Okay.
So he just took the business and ran with it himself, and I went back to church. And that was a interesting time for me because I went from, again, working for myself. So I left the car dealership, went to working for myself, and then now I'm back working for somebody else. So then I was working at a call center, then I was working at a group home, and I was like, God, what is this? Like,
okay.
I feel like I'm going backwards.
So you've kind of been in and out of the business game.
Been in and out of the business game.
So with all those businesses that you embarked on in the past that brought you to Ballard Interiors, you mentioned that your parents were business owners.
Yes.
So that was the catalyst for you, right? It seemed like that was the seed. The seed was planted a long time ago,
right?
To be in business for yourself.
Yeah. Well, so my stepdad came around when I was like 16. He ended up coming around and marrying my mom when I was like 17. But before then, I was the kid. I'm from Detroit. I was the kid that would go out and knock on doors to try to shovel snow. to make $5 or do some odd end jobs around people's houses. We painted, me and my friend painted somebody's basement one time for some money, try to cut grass for some money, things like that. So it was always in me, the hustling, the grinding. I just didn't know how to make it look. I mean, not even look. I didn't know how to take it to that next level. I didn't really
foundation.
I didn't have nobody to, I didn't know anybody that owned the business when I was growing up. So I didn't know nothing about owning a business. I just knew I was young, I ain't having no money, and I wanted to go buy some chips, some soda, you know.
Right. Sounds very familiar.
Yeah, just little stuff. Yes. I wasn't trying to take over the world. I was just trying to put a little money in my pocket so I could go to the store.
Get to the next day.
Yeah, just get to the next day. So when my stepdad came along, he the one that opened me and my brother eyes to entrepreneurship. You know, he the one that told us about it and made us be like, oh man, it's really what we've been doing. We just didn't we didn't have a name for it. We just thought we were just out there just hustling and trying to make money. So they had, him and my mom end up starting their own advertising firm in Michigan and Detroit. It's very successful. And that's how I learned how to do Photoshop and, you know, all that stuff. And that was like 93, 94, 95. So that was when, especially in the Black community, you didn't even know really what Macintosh computer was. You didn't have one in your house, and you definitely wasn't using Photoshop to use it. So that kind of kick-started all the other things that came after that. We ended up moving out here and, you know, saying, okay, then they ended up becoming the pastors and doing a church and all those things.
Wow, you have so many tools under your toolbox, and it's amazing what you've been able to build so far. But I see the building blocks.
Right.
I mean, it's evident. And this ties into your social media presence.
Right.
What's different about you from the people that I've met so far is that you have a heavy engagement. And it's kind of odd for this type of business that you're in. You know, I mean, you know, beauty people and salons, they kind of expect them to do that. It's a vanity thing, right?
Yeah.
But with Ballard Interiors, you do a lot to get out on social media, to show your face and to drop gems and promote your business.
Right.
How did that evolve? Because that's very unique.
That evolved just from me and my brother. We've always been outside of the box thinkers. So, you know, even when we were younger, we used to dress different, try to dress different from everybody else. You know, as we got older and did other businesses, we just, you know, I try to think of the far-fetched thing and say, come on, let's do that. Even, like I said, even when we as club promoters, we had billboards. We were the only one, and still the only one to this day, to be promoting clubs and have our own billboards with our face and stuff on it. So what I learned early on is I am my brand. So if I'm my brand, I have to do everything to showcase who I am so people be like, oh man, I want to work with him. So for instance, the name of our promotion company was, when we was doing clubs, was Doobie Boys. So one day I woke up and told my brother, listen, we're gonna call ourselves, the name of our crew was Doobie Boys, but I said, I'm gonna call myself Mike Doobie and you're gonna call yourself Dre Doobie. And I said, because every time somebody say our name, they're gonna say our company name too. And that was the thing. So
name in with the brand.
So to this day, people still, if they haven't seen me in a long time, they still call me Mike Doobie.
Okay.
So it did exactly what I wanted it to do. It made people say my company name every time they say, hey, Mike Doobie, what's going on? Dre Doobie, what are you doing? They were saying our company name. So I've always been big on branding. So what I've done now is I've looked and said, nobody's really out there in construction like this. You know, so what can I do to stand out? I said, well, I got to become the face of my brand. Now, what I will say is my mentor that told me to get into flooring initially told me not to be the face of it. And I was just like, I take some advice for you, but I can't take it all.
Chew the meat and spit out the bones.
Yeah, chew the meat and spit out the bones.
Do you think that name attached to the company
is because some people in the industry are kind of unsavory, so they don't really want their name attached to a business?
Well, you know what? His thing was really because I was black. I mean, he black too, but that's really what it was. He felt that in this industry, for me to be black and be the face of it, it will deter people. And my thing was, I don't care. I'm the brand, and I'm going to show people that, if you get with me, you're getting with the best.
Yes.
There's no, and then also unfortunately, we come from a culture where, your granddad was uncle was the alley cat mechanic, or your granddad did side this. Like, everybody always did something, but they didn't really do it to the fullest.
You said it better than I did. So I guess that's really what I was saying, what I was asking rather.
It's the stigma that, oh man, here goes another brother. What they gonna do? They're gonna be late, or they're not gonna show up, they're not gonna do. And for me, I go even harder because I know, unfortunately, that lingers, over.
And it's very unfortunate and unfair because it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with the person.
Yes.
Because I can tell you about business dealings I've did with people outside of the culture.
Outside of the culture that
do
did
the same
bad.
thing. Run off with your money, or they do shoddy work, or.
But this is the one thing I will say. When you think about African American businesses, is one thing that people don't understand is we are natural hustlers. We are natural go-getters. We'll do your hair in the house. We will fix your car in the garage. We'll sell you a hot plate right out the house. But we was never taught customer service. We just know how to do the work, but we wasn't taught this part. So we have a ton of people that are great at what they do, but they didn't have the other aspect of entrepreneurship.
Let me give you a little pushback on that. Most of us are in customer service related jobs as black people.
It don't matter. So it's different when you do it for somebody else than when you do it for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Because when you do it for somebody else, it's rules. So if I go to a call center or whatever, if I'm working at let's say Walmart, I know they tell me this is how I'm supposed to act. This is what I'm supposed to do. When I have my own business, I don't have that person over me telling me I shouldn't do that. It's me.
Yes.
And if I don't already have that in me, then I'm not going to present that to the people. If I have the mentality, you should be thankful I'm doing your hair, or you should be thankful I'm coming in the first place. If that's the mentality I have, then that's how I'm presented to the people. So that's what happens. A lot of us come from customer service background, but we wasn't taught, we was told, and there's a difference.
Absolutely, very good point.
I had to learn how to give great customer service, and I was like, oh, okay, I shouldn't do this. Oh man, this is why I should do it this way. This is why I should do it that way. And it really stemmed from my mom. She was big on timeliness. Her big thing, I'm gonna be on time. If I'm late, the world is coming to an end. And that's how I grew up. So a lot of people that I work with now, they be like, oh man, Mike definitely gonna be on time. That's if you know me, you know I'm big on time. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna probably be there 10, 15 minutes early but that was something that was taught to me from my moms. A lot of people wasn't taught that.
It was hardwired.
It was hard. They was late going to their regular jobs that they was getting paid hourly for all the time. How many people didn't got wrote up because they was either late or didn't show up, and they were just like, oh well.
Absolutely.
So that's where it comes to, we wasn't taught that other end of business, and we really wasn't taught. We just kind of naturally. I was young and I went out and shoveled snow. Nobody told me to do that. I was just like, oh man, I heard one of the homies did it. Like, oh man, you made some money? Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. Yeah. It wasn't like a older mentor or uncle said, hey man, go make some money, you go shovel some snow, this is how you do it, go knock on the doors. I had to figure all that out myself. So we have adults that have businesses that's trying to figure it all out on themselves. And that's where this whole stigma of, oh man, they're gonna be late, or they're not gonna be on time, or this, that, and this, or whatever it is.
Very good points, very good points. And thank you for that, because you did put some things in perspective there. In doing what I do, I experience a lot of that. And there is a sense of, I won't go as far as saying unprofessionalism, but that lack of engagement and customer service spirit. There's just certain things that you may encounter that may not be pleasant on your end, but because you're the face of your business, you have to be able to deal with it in a way that you maintain your professionalism.
Right, for sure.
And on all those other things, I can't really add much to what you said. You hit the nail on the head with that. Absolutely. In doing African-American-Made, we try to crush those stereotypes, right? Like brothers like yourself.
Right.
You said something about which really struck me, and I've heard it many times, even with African-American-Made, even using African-American-Made, that pushback mostly among other black people saying, you really want to be the face of that, or you really want to use black in your name? Say, why not? Of course I do.
Right.
It's about my work. It's about my ethic. It's about the quality that I bring to it. If I know we come from a culture of a history of, regardless of how good you are, people did not give you an opportunity because of what you look like.
Right.
But there's also a large segment of our community that says, I don't really like how you look, but I care more about the work.
Right.
I can get it for how much? You're gonna do a 10 times better job than the other guy? Okay, I can get over myself long enough to, give you the business, if you will. Have you experienced some of that in your engagement with the clients that you had beforehand, like when they see you show up? Have you experienced some of that where they're more concerned about, just the quality of the work?
You know what? I'll be honest with you, man. One of the biggest gripes I have with our culture is we always trying to blame somebody else, the white man, whoever. And I just don't agree with that. I've been in business for 10 years now, and 90% of my business is with people that don't look like me. That's not in my culture. And I go in people's houses, and this is what's crazy. I can go in somebody's house and they will write me a check for $25,000 that's not black. And then I can go into a black person's house and they hesitating to give me a check for $5,000. So the concept of this certain race is holding me back, I don't agree with it.
So do you think that it's so much someone saying that, people saying that the race is being held back, or is it a community? Because I kind of separate the two. As an individual, we're not oppressed as individuals, but as a community, as a race as a whole, meaning like, one-on-one interactions with, and this is a question.
Okay.
One-on-one interaction with another person outside of your culture, you don't experience that. It's one thing, but systemic racism that deals with a whole society of people is a little different.
You know what? I have my...
In other words, studies have been shown where, a black couple goes to buy a house and they get a higher, the experience is totally different, side by side comparison. That's more systemic than it is individual.
Yeah, you know what? I understand that, and I know that's out there, but you can't let that stop you. Right. I think people focus too much on that. If I would have focused on my mentor saying, don't be the face of it because of who you are, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
And he said that because he thought it would hold you back.
He thought it would hold me back.
Yeah.
Now,
what was his thinking behind that? Was that his experience, or was it something that
he just older brother?
Okay.
And he just felt
he come from a different time.
And he felt that if I did that, it wouldn't let me be as successful as I turned out being. And I just thought that was totally wrong. I just feel like if you give somebody, whoever's meant for me is meant for me. Have I been to somebody's house and they could have been racist. I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Of course.
If they didn't go with me, they just told me they didn't want to go with me.
Right.
They
And
didn't
business
say,
is business. You don't care about a person's
I don't care about it. You know
as
what I'm
long
saying?
as I walk out of this house, with all the land.
And I've never had any issues, but I've went in people's houses and talked to them, and you know, a lot of times people want to accept me for me type deal, and then you wonder why people treat you a certain way. I'm gonna give you an example. I wear a collared shirt. I wear a polo shirt. If I went into somebody's house and my shirt was dirty, or not even dirty, if my pants were sagging, and I'm like, yo, what's up? I'm here to da-da-da. Then yeah, they not gonna be comfortable writing me a $25,000 check. But I go in people's house professional.
Right.
You know, and I'm still me. The way I'm talking to you right now is how I talk to anybody. You know, I try to articulate what I'm trying to say. I try to give them the advice or the information that they're asking for, and we move along, and I sell the job. You know, so is there systemic, and you know, we can't get this house, we can't do this because of this? Yeah, but I don't let that stop me. If I would have did that, I'd have never started this business in the first place.
Now, do you think that acknowledging those things and you know, still trying to fight against those things in order to improve our lives as African Americans or Black people as a whole? Do you think that, because I believe two things could exist at the same time. And that's kind of how I live my life. I don't think there are absolutes, right?
Right.
So, and I'm being extreme now. I can fight for the injustices that are happening in my culture, but I can still deal with other people and understand that everybody's not like that, and that, you know, one-on-one interactions or group interactions are different, and not, you know, it doesn't impede me from dealing with the rest of the world like we all should.
Yeah.
Do you think those two things? You know, I think each of them have their place. In other words, this doesn't pepper how I talk to or how I engage with people or how I see other people as far as giving them an opportunity or a chance.
So I'm kind of an outside of the box thinker. I think we can go a lot further if we learn how to work together. So we always want to point the finger at this person not doing this and this person not doing that. But when we are in position of power, what are we doing?
Absolutely.
Are we coming together? You know, we complain about, oh, I didn't get a loan for this house, but it's African Americans that could have their own banks, but they're not doing it. You know, how many sports athletes, you know, if all the sports athletes put their money in a pot to something, we could probably have $1 billion that we could use for it. So, you know, we complain and we talk about different things, but I think the core situation is we don't even work well with each other at times. I've tried to help so many people get into this business, you know, and they end up falling off for one reason or another. So many. I've tried to give them opportunities. Hey, this is a good field to get in. I'll come in, you start off here, and then you can kind of build from there. I've told so many people, just like my mentor told me, hey, get into cabinets, get into painting, get into something in construction. They're not gonna have robots and AIs to do that. If you get a trade, you're gonna always have some business.
Absolutely. Okay, Mr. Ballard, you know, I tried to hit you from all kind of angles.
Go ahead.
You made you stated your case and you're on point. So I can't, you know, I mean, maybe you even changed my mind about some things. But no, very good perspective on those things. And while this isn't, you know, this is about you and Ballard Interiors, it's always good to know the perspective of a business owner, a Black business owner, and how we're viewed in the public and what we need to do to move forward.